Alright, we're going to practice writing equations with some given information. In example 1, we can see that f of 0 is equal to negative 3, and f of negative 1 is equal to negative 8. So, looks a little bit weird, but there's a couple things we can remember that will have this make more sense. When it says f of 0, remember that 0 is the input. And the input value is going to be your x value. And then the number that you get back out is going to be the y value. So really, we can put together an ordered pair on our line right there, 0, negative 3. Same thing with f of negative 1, that negative 1 is the x, the negative 8 is the output or the y, so we can put that together as negative 1, negative 8. So now we're just looking at two ordered pairs. We just did this in our intro video. Go ahead and label them x1, y1, x2, y2, and let's write an equation. We don't know our slope, so that's where we're going to start. Our slope is equal to y2 minus y1, which is a negative 3, so it becomes plus, over x2 minus x1, which is 0. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5 over negative 1, which equals a positive 5. Now when we write our equation, we're going to use our first points and our slope and put it into point-slope form. So y minus a negative 3 becomes plus 3 equals 5 times x minus 0. So we're just going to take this equation and solve for x. We have y plus 3 equals distributing 5 times x. 5 times 0 is just a 0. Then we'll subtract 3 from both sides. So we get, y equals 5x minus 3. So before we call that our final answer, the one thing we want to notice is that the information we were given is in function notation. So we want our answer to also be in function notation. So instead of saying y equals, we're going to replace that with f of x. So f of x equals 5x minus 3. And there's our function. Alright, so next example, we're doing the same thing. Remember, you have an ordered pair with the information. The input is the x, the output is the y. So 4, negative 1, and then the other ordered pair would be negative 3, negative 1. Let's find our slope first. x1, y1, x2, y2. So slope formula, negative 1 minus a negative 1 becomes plus 1 over negative 3 minus 4. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, and negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. So remember, anytime that 0 shows up in your slope, that means it's either a horizontal or a vertical line. So this is one of our special lines. 0 divided by anything is 0, so we have a 0 slope. Now that we know the slope, we can pair it with our first ordered pair and go into point-slope form. Y minus a negative 1 is plus 1 equals 0 times x minus 4. So we have y plus 1 equals, well, 0 times anything is 0. And then we keep solving. We have y equals negative 1. So you can see, yep, that looks like one of our special equations. That's a horizontal line. But we're not going to use y equals because the problem started with function notation, so we're going to end with function notation. So f of x equals negative 1.